Good evening, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, March 31st. This is the last day of the first quarter of the year. I hope that everybody has given it their all, gotten their last minute text messages, last minute sales, to really just finish this quarter very strong. Welcome to our leadership development call. My name is Miriam Kareem. So happy to have everybody here, so that we can learn to grow our businesses, get in the right mindset, if you will, and just be the best, the very best, exceed what we think the best is, but go beyond that. Um, Quick trip to the newbie corner. Um, I was thinking about something today about something that all of our coaches say that um, documentation beats conversation. Um, I think that's important. I also kind of was thinking about how we're always warned in the beginning stages to not get in student mode, and just stay in student mode. Don't get stuck there because you can get all the information. What is it? Information overload. You can get every it's good to know information about the pay plan, about the skills and everything. But if you're not putting that into practice, into action, then it's just information. And you just sound like somebody that knows some information, but your documentation, what you actually have put out, what sales you've actually gotten, how big your team has grown, your income with this network marketing business, our amazing companies, HBN and Goldasana, you, if without that, it's just information. You're just, to me, it just seems like you're just spitting out information. So if you want to be credible, I'm learning that. If you want to be credible, you have got to have the papers to back up the information that you know. And some people don't know hardly too much, but they have that paper, that documentation. So keep that in mind. That being said, I'd like to introduce you to our teacher tonight, Coach Seymour Greenish Blake. He is a multiple six-figure earner in the network marketing world, a six-figure earner here at our Green Organics company at HBN, an amazing, amazing teacher, always has great information, great insight on things to really make you think about life, about your business, about the mindset you need to be in. So please pay close attention. Coach Seymour Greenish Blake, are you available, sir?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here. First off, I want to say thank you for that warm introduction. Every week, it just seems like it just gets better and better in here. And second, I want to also thank Coach Marcus for every week getting these Zooms prepared for us to be on here to come together and network and learn and just get mentored by the coaches that comes on every day and do some type of teaching. And last but not least, I want to thank everybody that's on here tonight because that means a lot. That shows that you could have been anywhere else, but you decide to be here tonight to take some notes and learn to better yourself. So I want to thank you for every week coming out here and just learning. And I'm hoping that people are taking these teachings that we're putting in the time to teach you guys and start applying them. Because if you do, like Miriam just say, you will start to see your business grow. Tonight it's going to be an interesting topic. Um, I'm going to try. It might be a little bit long, but I'm going to try to put it in within that time frame that we have, that hour, and hope that I can get to somebody tonight. I know every night, every Tuesday, I get to somebody. I'm sure I do. So I'm hoping that tonight will continue being that way. So with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and get off camera so I can pay attention to my notes and not get distracted. And here we go. So tonight's topic is going to be signs that you are discovering your purpose. Let me say it again. Signs that you are discovering your purpose. Okay. When we talk about discovering our purpose, we're not talking about some magical moment where, everything suddenly becomes clear overnight. We're talking about process, a process of awareness, growth, discomfort, and alignment. Purpose is not something that drops on you. It's something that reveals itself to you over time as you become the person capable of walking in it. Let me say that again. Purpose is not something that just drops on you. It is something that reveals itself to you over time as you become the person capable of walking in it. Most people misses their purpose, and they don't miss it because they don't have one, but they miss it because they don't recognize the signs that are showing up in their life every single day. And those signs show up every single day because they are internal. There are signs that it's already in you. Okay. One of the first signs that you are discovering that your purpose is starting to grow. This satisfaction with what used to be satisfying to you. This is one of the most misunderstood phrases because from the outside, your life may look exactly the same. You may still have the same job, the same routine, the same circle of friends, the same responsibilities. However, internally, something has shifted. What used to excite you no longer excites you. What used to feel comfortable no longer feels limiting. This is not because something is wrong with your life, it's because something is evolving within you. Okay? Growth, it has taken place internally. And now your external environment no longer matches who you are becoming. The dissatisfaction is not the negative thing. It is the actuality, it is actually the signal that you are being called to elevate. We all here for a purpose, guys. We were all put on this earth for a purpose. The question is, do you know what your purpose is? Okay. The mistake that most people make is trying to fix the feeling instead of following it. So don't try to fix it. If it's coming out, follow it, go with it. See, most of you will try to distract yourself, convince yourself to be content. Some of you even suppresses the urge for more. But that feeling is not meant to be ignored, guys. It is meant to be explored. See, as you continue along the path, another sign begins to show up, and that is increased awareness of your thoughts and how you speak to you, not to how you speak to others, but how you speak to yourself. Before this stage, it is easy to allow negative things to go unchecked. You might say things like, "I can't," "I'm not ready," or "That's not for me," without even realizing the impact of those words. Remember that teaching that I taught a few weeks ago? Stop talking negative about yourself, even if you're joking about it, because your body does not know the difference between a joke and reality. Your body just reacts to what you tell it to do. Okay? So you begin to catch yourself in the middle of the negative self talk. You start correcting yourself, your language. You start becoming intentional about how you think, about how you speak. That shift is important, guys. And it's important because your purpose requires a higher level of identity. You cannot step into a greater assignment while maintaining a limited mindset. Let me say that again. You cannot start, you cannot start, step into a greater assignment while you're maintaining a limited mindset. What is starting to happen is the stage is that what is starting to happen in that stage is that your internal standard is starting to rise. You're no longer willing to accept thoughts that contradict who you are becoming. It is not about perfection, it's about awareness and correction. Another strong indicator that you're starting to discover your purpose. And these are all signs that we see and we feel every day, okay? Is a natural pull towards growth, even when it's uncomfortable and inconvenient to you. Growth is no longer something that you avoid, it becomes something that you seek. You begin to look for information that can help you improve. You become more open to learning, whether it's through books, mentorships, training, personal experience. But what is important to understand is that this desire does not come from pressure. It comes from within. Again, it's internal. You're not being forced to grow. You're being drawn to it. And there's something inside of you that recognizes that staying. The same is no longer an option. It is a critical stage. Why? Because growth always requires change. If you're a kid and you're starting to grow and your feet starting to grow, if you don't change those shoes, it's going to be tight. It's going to be uncomfortable. Okay? That's growth. The people who discover their purpose are the ones who learn to embrace that discomfort instead of running from it. Okay? As this process continues, you will begin to notice changes in your relationship, in your environments. You may even find yourself outgrowing conversations that you once enjoyed. Topics that used to hold your attention no longer interest you. Okay? You may feel disconnected in spaces where you once felt comfortable. This can be confusing if you do not understand what is happening. It may feel like you are losing connection with people, but in reality, you're losing alignment with the version of yourself that once fit in those spaces. Purpose requires alignment, and alignment often requires separation. This doesn't mean that you stop caring about people or that you start to think that you're better than anyone. It simply means that you're moving in a direction that requires a different level of thinking, a different level of focus, a different level of energy. Learning how to navigate this stage without guilt is essential. Why? It's essential because holding on to an environment that no longer serves your growth will delay your progress. Another sign that you're discovering your purpose. That is the shift from seeking validation to seeking impact. In the early stages of life, many people are driven by what? The desire to be seen, to be recognized, to be approved by others. However, as you begin to step into purpose, that desire starts to fade. You become less concerned with what people think and more concerned with what you can contribute. You begin to ask different questions. Instead of asking how you can look successful, you start asking how you can be effective. Instead of focusing on attention, you focus on service. That shift is very powerful. Why? Because purpose is always connected to impact. It's not just about what you gain, it's about what you give. When you feel a strong desire to help others, to share knowledge, to uplift people, and to make a difference, that is a clear indication that you are aligning your purpose. Another important sign, it often gets overlooked, and that is a development of self discipline without external pressure. In the past, you see, you may have relied on motivation, encouragement, or accountability from others to get things done. However, as you begin discovering your purpose, not some other person's purpose, but as you start to discover your purpose, you start to hold yourself accountable. You begin to develop habits that support growth. You start to manage your time more intentionally. You begin to make decisions based on what? Where you are going, not just on how you feel in the moment. This level of discipline is not forced, it's fueled by clarity and direction. Understand that when you start to see where your life is heading, you naturally begin to align your actions with that same vision. And then discipline become less about restriction and more about alignment. See, as you continue to grow, you will also begin to notice an increased level of sensitivity to how you spend your time and energy. Things that once felt harmless may now feel as distractions. You become more protective of your focus. You start evaluating how your daily actions are contributed to your long-term goals. And that awareness is very important. It is very important because purpose requires consistency. It is not built on one day. It's not built in one day. It is built over time through repeated actions. When you begin to value your time differently, it is a strong indication that you're thinking from a place of purpose rather than impulse. Another sign that you're beginning to take responsibility of your life or for your life at a deeper level, instead of blaming circumstances, other people, past experiences, you start focusing on what you can control. You begin to understand that your decision, your actions, your mindset plays a major role in shaping your future. And this shift is responsibility, guys. It's essential because purpose requires ownership. You can't fully step into your purpose while operating from a victim mindset. You got to take responsibility. Taking responsibility does not mean that everything that has happened was your fault. But what it does mean is that moving forward, it's need to be your responsibility. And as you move further along the journey, you will also begin to notice that your vision starts to expand. It's get bigger. And if your dreams are not big enough to scare you, they're not big enough. You start thinking bigger. You start seeing possibilities that you didn't see before. Goals that once seemed unrealistic, they begin to feel attainable. That expansion of vision is a direct result of what? Your growth. And as you develop new skills and gain new knowledge and build new habits, your perspective starts to change. You start seeing opportunities. where you once saw limitations. And this is an important stage. Why? Because your purpose is always connected to a vision that is greater than your correct and than your current situation. Y'all always hear me say, stop making excuses and turn those excuses into the reason why you need to change your current situation. And at this point, it is very important to understand, guys, that discovering your purpose is not about having everything or figuring out everything. It's about recognizing the direction that you're being pulled into and taking action in alignment with that direction. Clarity does not always come before the action. Often it comes through the action. And as you move to learn, you learn to grow. And as you grow, your purpose becomes a lot clearer. So, what I want you to take from this is that purpose leaves clues. It shows up in your thoughts, your feelings, your desire, your discomfort, your growth, your discipline, your relationship, but most of all, your vision. The key is not to ignore those signs, but to pay attention to them. Because each one of those signs is basically you discovering your purpose. When you begin to recognize these patterns, then you can start making decisions that align with who you are becoming instead of who you used to be. So pay attention to those signs, guys. They are there every day, teaching you, showing you the path that you need to go. And see, and as we continue to unpack these different signs of discovering your purpose, it's important to understand that purpose is not just something that you feel, okay? It is something that begins to reshape how you interpret your life, your experience. One of the strongest indicators that you're moving closer to your purpose is that you begin to see meaning in things that once felt random. Situations that used to frustrate you now start to make you a lot of sense to you. Challenges that once felt like setback begins to reveal themselves as preparation. You start connecting those dots between your past and your present, realizing that certain experiences were not accidents, but they were actually assignments. They were assignments. And that shift in perspective is critical. And it's critical because it changes how you respond to life. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You begin asking, what is this trying to teach me? That change alone moves you from a reactive mindset into a growth mindset. You begin to understand that your life is not working against you, it is working for you. See, because every experience, whether it's positive or negative, it is contributing to your development. And that realization allows you to move forward with greater confidence because you're no longer defined by your past again. You're refined by it. Okay? You're not defined by your past, you're refined by it. Now it's time for discovering your purpose and is an increase in level of internal conviction. You begin to feel strongly about certain things, even when others do not understand or agree with you. There's a sense of knowing that starts to develop inside of you, and it's not loud. It's not always easy to explain, but it is consistent. See, you may find yourself making decisions sometimes that do not align with the expectation of others. And for the first time, guess what? You're going to be comfortable with it. It is not rebellion or align. It is actually alignment. Okay. When you're connected to your purpose, you don't need constant approval because your direction is being guided from within. And that internal conviction allows to strengthen your ability to stay focused. Distraction that once pulled you off course begins to lose their power. You become more selective about what you allow in your space, whether it's information, conversation, or opportunities. You start evaluating everything through the lens of alignment. You ask yourself whether something is moving you closer to your goals or pulling you away from it. This level of discernment is not something that happens overnight. It develops as your awareness increases. And the more you understand your direction, the easier it becomes to say no to what does not support it. If what I've been teaching so far tonight makes sense, put a one in the chat. If this is making sense to you, put a one in the chat. Because I want to know that I'm getting to somebody. See, as you continue progress, another sign becomes evident. And that sign is growing willingness to take risks that align with your growth. Now, this does not mean reckless behavior, guys, or impulsive decisions. It means calculated steps outside of your comfort zone. You begin to recognize that staying where you are is no longer an option if you want to become who you're meant to be. This awareness pushes you to what? To take action, even when you feel uncertain. The fear does not disappear, but it no longer controls your decisions. You move forward because you start to understand that growth requires movement. And that is very important to highlight at this stage because often it brings a level of fear and doubt. And this is where many people hesitate. They interpret fear as a sign to stop, when in reality, it is often a sign that they are stepping into something new. And understand that not all fear, some fear you do require to stop. But when it comes to building your business, you can't let that fear stop you. So you got to make the right decision when it's time to stop and when it's time to go forward and move forward. Okay? You become less focused on quick wins and more focused on long-term development. This patience allows you to stay consistent even when you do not see immediate results. You begin to trust the process because you recognize that every step is contributing again to your progress. Along with patience comes what? A deeper sense of self-awareness. You begin to understand your strength and your areas of improvement a lot more clearer. Instead of avoiding your weaknesses, you start addressing them. Instead of downplaying your strength, You begin to develop them intentionally. This balance awareness is essential. Why? Because purpose requires both what? Confidence and humility. Confidence allows you to step forward, while humility keeps you open to learning and growth. Another sign that we definitely cannot overlook is the shift in how you handle adversity. See, when you're not aligned with your purpose, challenges can feel overwhelming and discouraging. However, as you begin discovering your purpose, your response to adversity will start to change. You become more resilient. You start viewing challenges as an opportunity to grow rather than reason to quit. This does not mean that difficulties become easier, okay? But it does mean that your mindset becomes stronger. You develop the ability to push strong or push through obstacles because you understand that they are part of the journey. How many times have you heard me say, when you kneel down at night and before you go to bed, or when you kneel down and pray anytime to that man up there, God, asking him for something, there is times that he's going to put obstacles in front of you. And those obstacles are put there to see how bad you want to reach those goals. When you put information in the GPS, there are obstacles that are going to detour you. But if you quit and stop and turn around and go back, you will never reach your destination. But if you follow those signs and go around those obstacles, at the end, you're going to reach your destination. Treat your business the same way. Don't let those obstacles allow you to quit. Don't let those obstacles put fear in you. Don't let those obstacles take your dream away from you. Push through it, as Coach Sonic always say. Push through it. Okay. See, as this resilience builds, you also begin to notice an increased level of consistency in your action. You're no longer operating based on solely on how you feel in the moment, but instead you're guided by your commitment to your growth and to your vision. And this consistency is what separates those who discover their purpose from those who remain stuck. So you don't want to be those that stay stuck. You want to start discovering your purpose. Because purpose is not revealed through occasional effort, it is revealed through consistent actions over time. Okay? Another important aspect of this journey is that the way that you begin to value learning from others, you become more open to mentorship, to guidance, to collaborations. You recognize that you do not have to figure everything out on your own. This openness accelerates your growth. Why? Because you are able to gain insight from people who have already walked those similar paths. And that's why I say we got to listen and take action to what we learn on these calls. Because we have been there and you're trying to get there. And me as a leader, I'm still learning every day. I'm still learning every day. Okay? This openness accelerates your growth because you're able to, well, I already said that part. As you continue to evolve, you will also begin to notice that your energy becomes more focused. You're no longer scattered across multiple directions. Instead, you begin to channel your efforts into areas that aligns with your growth. This focus allows you to make more meaningful progress. Why? Because you are not constantly starting over. You are building momentum. And each step builds on the previous one, creating a sense of forward movement that reinforces your confidence. It is also important to recognize, guys, that discovering your purpose often requires letting go. And when I say letting go, I'm talking about letting go of whole habits, whole mindset, and sometimes even old identities. This process can be challenging. Why? Because it involves releasing what is familiar to you. However, holding on to what no longer serves you will prevent you from stepping out into what is meant for you. Letting go is not about loss. It's about making space for growth. The same way when we release weight, we're not trying to get it back. We are, we are building space for a healthier life. So that's the same thing. When you let go of those old things and those old habits, you're making space for growth. And as you reflect on these signs, it becomes clear that discovering your purpose is not a single event, but a series of shifts that occurs every time. Each sign builds on the previous one, creating a path that leads you towards what? Greater clarity and alignment. The key is to remain aware, stay committed to your growth, and continue taking action. Okay? As we continue this teaching, guys, on the sign of discovering your purpose, it becomes necessary to move beyond recognition and into responsibility. Because once you begin to see the signs, once you begin to feel the shift, once you begin to recognize that something inside of you is changing, the next step is what? Not observation, it is action. Many people become aware, but they never become aligned because they fail to respond correctly to what they're experiencing. One of the most important things to understand at this stage is that purpose requires participation. It is not something that will be unfold fully while you remain passive. You must engage with it. When you become or when you begin to feel dissatisfaction, that is not your sign or your signal to complain. It is your signal to evaluate. You must begin to ask yourself deeper questions about your current situation. You must access whether your daily actions are aligned with the direction that you feel yourself being pulled towards. Because this is where, honestly, this becomes critical. You cannot move forward while you're being dishonest about where you are. You cannot move forward while you're being dishonest about where you are. Let that sink in for a little bit. See, when you notice that your thinking is changing and you're becoming more aware of your internal dialogue, the correct response is to begin training your mind intentionally. It is not something that happens automatically. I'm telling you, it won't take time sometimes. Just because you're aware of your thoughts does not mean they will change on their own. You must begin feeling or feeding your mind with information that supports your growth. You must become disciplined in what you listen to, what you read, what you expose yourself to on a daily basis. Your environment plays a major role in shaping your mindset, guys. So you must control it. You definitely have to have control of it because this is where many people fall apart. They will fall short here. And they fall short because they want a new life while they're maintaining the same mental inputs. That does not work. Transformation requires replacement. And as you begin to feel pulled forward towards growth, your response must be commitment, not temporary motivation, not occasionally efforts, but consistent commitment. Growth will demand your time, your energy, and your focus. There will be moments, guys, when it feels inconvenient. This week was a hard week for me. I lost 6 friends in 9 days. But I had to tell myself I can't let that, depression just take over my body. I have goals, I have things I need to achieve, and I had to move forward. These were friends for over 40, 50 years. That day gonna come. It's sad, yes, but I cannot let that stop me from the growth that I'm looking for. There will be moments when you will rather do something else. This is where discipline becomes necessary. Discipline is not about doing what is easy, it's about doing what is required. And if you truly want to step into your purpose, you must be willing. I'm going to say that again. You must be willing to prioritize your development, even when it's not comfortable. And when you start to outgrow environments and relationships, your response must be wisdom. This is not about stage. This is not a stage where you become disrespectful or dismissive to others. It is a stage where you become intentional about where you invest your time and your energy. You must learn how to create boundaries without creating bitterness. Not everyone is meant to go where you are going, and that is okay. It's okay. Your responsibility is not to force others to change. Your responsibility is to continue growing. See, as you grow, your environment will begin to adjust accordingly. And as your desire, as your desire to impact others begin to increase, then your response must be service and action. It is not enough to feel like you want to help people. You must begin to do something about it. You must start sharing what you're learning. You must start applying what you know in a way that benefit others. It's not always about you only. This does not require perfection, guys. You not have to have everything figured out before you start helping people. What matters is that you are willing to give from where you are. Purpose grows stronger when it's expressed through services. Okay? As discipline begins to develop in your life, your response must be consistency. This is where many people struggle. And they struggle because they start strong, but they do not sustain their efforts. Consistency is what turns small actions into significant results. It's not about doing something once or twice, it's about doing it repeatedly over time. This is where habits are formed. This is where progress is made. You must begin to see your daily action as building blocks. Each decision that you make is either moving you closer to your purpose or pulling you away from it. So, which decision are you going to make? Understand that when your awareness of time and energy increases, your response must be prioritized. You must begin to evaluate how you are spending your days. You must identify activities that are not contributed to your growth and make the necessary adjustment. This does not mean that you eliminate all forms of relaxation or enjoyment, but it does mean that you become intentional about balance. This is one of the most valuable resources that you have. and how you use it will determine the direction of your life. So, as you begin to take more responsibility for your life, your response must be ownership. This means accepting that your results are connected to what? Your action. It means that recognizing that while you may not be in control over every circumstances, you do control how you respond to those circumstances. Ownership is empowering because it puts you in a position to make changes. And when you take responsibility, you stop waiting for things to happen and start making things happen. Now let's take this time to let's take this to another level, because understanding how to respond is only part of the equation. The next level is understanding how purpose begins to integrate into your life in a particular way. And as you move forward, you will begin to notice that your purpose start influencing your decision more consistently. You begin to filter opportunities differently. And so instead of saying yes to everything, you start saying yes to what aligns and no to that what is distracting. This level is discernment is what protects your focus. Without it, you will find yourself busy, not productive, active, but not effective. You will always begin to notice that your confidence starts to grow, not because everything is easy, but because you're proving to yourself that you can handle challenges. Confidence is not something that appears overnight, guys. It is built through repeated action. And every time that you take a step forward, despite uncertainty, you strengthen your belief in yourself. And this is why action is so important. Waiting does not build confidence, doing it does. So at this point of the teaching, I want to slow down a little bit and I want to speak directly to the audience that we have here tonight, okay? In a more personal tone. You have to understand that discovering your purpose is not about becoming someone else. Understand that, okay? It's not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of who you are. It's about removing the layers that have been placed on you by fear, by doubt, and external expectation. It is about stepping into your authentic self and allowing that you guide your action. There is something inside of you that already knows what direction you should be moving. The challenge is not to discover, it's not discovering it. The challenge is trusting it. See, trust requires courage. It requires you to move forward, even when you do not have all the answers. It requires you to believe in your potential, even when others do not see it. Okay? So now let's bring this home. As we move into the final part of this presentation, it is important to bring everything together in a way that not only reinforces what's being taught, but also challenges every person listening to make a decision. Because at the end of the day, information without application changes nothing. You can recognize every sign, understand every principle, and still remain in the same place if you do not act on what you know. So when you look back over everything that we have covered here tonight, you will begin to see that discovering your purpose is not something that is distant or unreachable. It is something that has been showing up in your life consistently. It has been present in your dissatisfaction, in your growth, in your thoughts, in your desire to do more, and in your awareness that there is something greater available for you. The problem is, it has never been the absence of purpose. The problem is that it's been the lack of recognition and then the response. Now that you understand the signs, the responsibility should start to shift you. You can no longer say that you do not know what is happening in your life. You can no longer ignore the internal pull that you have been feeling. You can no longer settle for comfort when you know you're being called to grow. Awareness creates responsibility, and once you see it, you must decide what you're going to do with it. So at this stage, what becomes most important is your willingness to commit, and not to commit for a day, not to commit for a week, but to commit to the process of becoming. See, purpose is not something that you step into once and everything is complete. It is something that you grow into over time. It requires consistency, discipline, and patience. It requires you to show up even when you do not feel like it. It requires you to keep moving even when progress feels slow. You have to understand, guys, that the journey will not always be easy. There will be moments where you feel uncertain. There will be moments where things do not go as planned. There will also be moments where you will question whether you are making the right decision or not. That is part of the process. That is part of growing. See, growth always comes with challenges. The difference is how you respond to those challenges. If you allow them to stop you, you remain where you are. If you use them to strengthen you, you will continue to move forward. Another important point on understanding that as you move forward is that purpose requires daily alignment. It is not something that you think about occasionally. It is something that you live out consistently. And every day you have to make the decision that align with who you are becoming. Every day you have to choose growth over comfort. Every day you have to be intentional about how you use your time, your energy, your focus. Small decisions made consistently over time creates significant results. And as you continue this journey, you must also learn to trust the process because not everything will make sense immediately. There will be times where you do not see the full picture. There will be times where progress will feel slow. This is where trust becomes important. You have to trust that step that you're taking, that it is leading you in the right direction. You have to trust that the work that you're putting in will produce results. Trust is built through actions. And the more you move forward, the more evidence you create that you are capable of handling with what comes next. You must also remain committed to growth, no matter how far you go. There's always another level, guys. There's always something new to learn, something new to develop, and something new to improve. Staying committed to growth will keep you from becoming stagnant. It will keep you sharp. It will keep you prepared for the opportunities that comes your way. And at the same time, you must stay grounded in your purpose. Growth should not lead to distraction. As you gain new opportunities and experiences, it is important to remain focused on what matters the most. And this is where clarity becomes important. When you're clear, your purpose it becomes easier to stay aligned, and you are not pulled in every direction because you know where you are going. Okay? Everything you need to begin, everything that you need to begin is already within you. The signs are already there, guys. Like I said, it's internal. The awareness is already there. The desire is already there. What remains now is your decision to make that call, to make that step forward. Okay? You have decided that you are no longer going to ignore what you feel. You have to decide that you are no longer going to settle for less than what you are capable of. You have to decide that you are going to take responsibility for your growth, your actions, and your directions. And once you make that decision, your next step is to act. And not tomorrow, not next week, but now. Action requires clarity. Action builds confidence. Action moves you forward. And if you leave here today with anything, let it be this: your life will not change because of what you heard, it will change because of what you do. The signs have been there, the understanding is now there, the opportunity is in front of you. The only question that remains is, what are you going to do? What are you going to do next? That's the only question that's left. What are you going to do next? Back to you, Miriam.
Well, I guess we can just sum the call up now. I am just, it's so amazing how you talk about something and it happened to me. Like today, I was thinking about and you all please show Coach Seymour some love in the chat. Today, I took a risk on somebody that I talked to maybe last year, maybe year and a half ago. And they told me, well, no, I'm not, interested in anything right now. I'm doing my own thing. So I said, well, let me just check one more time because today might be the day. And sure enough, I messaged that person, you know, told them, hey, listen, we talked about such and such thing. Is that something that you are open to now? And they said yes. And I was just like, not amazed, but just like, I can tell that a year ago, I wouldn't have done that. I would not have done that. Now I will. Now each person is like, maybe they will this time, or this time might be the day for them. So thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
It's just been amazing how once everything you said is true. Once you take that step, once you start operating in a mode where you start slacking off and you think to yourself, would a multi-million CEO be acting like this? Would this is this how a CEO would of a company, a multi-million dollar company, be acting? Then why are you? And then I just get back, it's just you have to keep yourself in line. Your why has to keep yourself in line, really, really does. So thank you so much for that. Coach Will is here. Coach Will, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Miriam, it's funny. There was some stuff I was going to share, but Coach Seymour literally, he must have cameras, I think, in the house. He must. And I know Coach Marcus and you feel the same way because we're always on the same page and it never gets old ever. I just want to brag on Coach Seymour for 1 second because he will never do this himself. And we'll wrap the call with that. But y'all know Coach Seymour, and he doesn't need anybody to hype him up. He don't need me to hype him up. If you've ever been around him in person, his presence does that. Even on the call, his presence does that. And for those of y'all who don't know, he is retired military. He served this country. He's raised a family. He built a life through discipline at a time when most of us, because our age, we were still trying to figure out who we were. He doesn't look his age at all. He doesn't act it, but Coach Seymour was a grown man at the time. A lot of us were kids just trying to figure out life. And then later in life, when most people at his age were looking for the couch, he said yes to this business. And he didn't come here. I remember first meeting him. He didn't come here to this company with the loudest pitch. He didn't have like the slickest closing lines. He can close anybody and all this type of stuff. He came in with something better. Coach Seymour came to this company and graced our team with his presence. He came in with character. I don't care now. Coach Seymour's made hundreds of thousands of dollars in this industry, just to be clear. It'll be 1 million probably this year if I had to guess. He's on fire right now. But it's not about the money. It's certain things that he understands about this game and the way to build network marketing businesses and how to pour into people. The things he understands that I'm still learning because he's been forged in something that is harder than a sales script. He's been forged in real adversity. And if you've ever been on his call, sometimes he'll share a bit of his personal story, especially when he's raising his sons. And it's the kind of stuff that people go through where he didn't quit because he couldn't quit on his kids, on his family. He couldn't quit because quitting certain things has consequences that you can't undo. I'm gonna say that again. Quitting certain things has consequences that you cannot undo. Some stuff you can't reverse. And this business is very, very, very forgiving, but I don't want y'all to take it for granted because he doesn't take it for granted. And I remember talking to Coach Seymour, I was talking to Gina, I was talking to Tommy, I was talking to Coach Charlotte, I was talking to a lot of our veterans. And here's something I have not stopped thinking about since having conversations with all of them, because I've never been in the military. I was in law enforcement. I've never been in the military. Okay. Never been overseas, never been at that level of discipline. Okay. But I'm gonna tell you something you can take when you talk to them and the other veterans on our team. I'm gonna tell you, they didn't wait until they felt ready to move. When they describe feelings, when they're on a mission, when I'm hearing them talk about things they've been through, when they're on a mission, their feelings are civilians. Just like they're irrelevant when you're on a mission. Civilians, it's not really relevant. Their feelings are civilians. They train and then they execute. And their courage, it doesn't come before they had to take action in the theater of war. Their courage came because of the action. So they have a tendency to move first and then their confidence follows. Now run that back in your mind one more time. We're done, but just run that back in your mind. They move first and the confidence follows. And that's something that you can take and learn from our veterans like Coach Seymour and others on his team because they didn't feel like a network marketer, top earner before they started to act like one. Coach Seymour didn't wait till his pipeline was full to start building. He didn't wait till the timing was perfect because the time is never perfect. And he knows that more than any of us because we all think we have more time than what we have. Please understand that. He picked up the phone when he didn't feel like it. He showed up to the events when life was complicated. He just told you he lost several friends in the same 10-day period. And he still shows up on these calls and prepares for hours on these calls and pour into everybody. And piece by piece, rep by rep, he built a real business, hundreds of thousands of dollars in real income, built by a man who treats his business and his team, and all of us, honestly, the same way he treated his military service, with honor, with consistency, and like tonight, with no excuses. So he built this business in the same weird, scary, uncertain world that we're all living in right now. And if he can do that with all the adversity that he's been through, and he doesn't make no excuses, what's your actual excuse? What's your actual excuse for not taking what he taught tonight, which was absolutely incredible, by the way? And I came in on a little bit later on the call. I was closing out some orders. But what's stopping you? Because 2026 is not a year to leave any money sitting on the table. And this is not a greed thing. This is not a go buy a yacht thing. The world is probably not going to suddenly become more stable and more forgiving in the next 6 to 12 months. The people who are taking these calls seriously and implementing the teaching that he and Coach Marcus and others are doing, the people that are building and following instructions and building and making it happen will have options later this year when everybody else is scrambling. So you got a couple hours before the first of the month. And I recommend, normally I would tell you, make sure your auto ship is on the first of the month. Make sure you go close out any last minute orders. Make sure you don't leave no money on the forget all that. I'm gonna do that, but that's me. I don't tell you, don't do as I do. Sometimes it's better just do as I say, honestly. I want some of you who know you're not gonna go sponsor anybody tonight. You know you're not gonna go look in your back office. You're just ready to get off the call. I get that. I want you to take a few hours tonight to decide what kind of person you are. Not the type of person you want to be someday. What type of person are you right now when it counts? And you have to make that decision for tonight and just make that decision and bring it into April. Because Coach Seymour didn't earn our respect by talking about what he was going to do. He earned it by doing the thing quietly, consistently, with character, with integrity, without needing any applause, the same way he did in the military and the same way he does in his business. And coming into this part of 2026, I'm gonna tell you right now, yeah, like Coach Marcus said, 75% of the years remaining, I feel like his consistency is the standard that we want to have in this team for the next 75% of this year. And I genuinely believe that every person on this call is capable of meeting that level and that standard of consistency. So I'm gonna close out the month the way Coach Seymour is gonna close out the month. Some of y'all will not do that. However, I do recommend that you start the month the way Coach Seymour will start the month, with discipline, with urgency, and with the full understanding that the world is not going to wait for you to get comfortable. Okay? So move first. The confidence will follow, and we're going to get to work. We're going to get to work in April, man. Thank you so much, Coach Seymour, man. I appreciate you so much. I cannot wait to see you in Dallas, Texas, brother. And thank you, Miriam, for all that you do for the team and for the company. I don't want you to think that your influence is limited to this. People talk about you all the time in a very positive light. And it goes, I don't even need to mention Coach Marcus. Quite frankly, I and many, many, many others would not be here if not for Coach Marcus. And y'all know that already. Y'all already know that. Okay, so I don't need to brag on him tonight. Look, I'll save that for I'll save that for Sunday. Y'all have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow, man. I love y'all so much. I can't wait to see everybody in Dallas, Texas. And back to you, Miriam.
Well, I second everything Coach Will said about Coach Seymour, Coach Marcus. Coach Marcus, do you have anything you'd like to say before we close out the call?
No, Coach Seymour, yourself, and Coach Will summarized everything. I thought I was going to say. I typed some things in the chat, but man, this was very impactful. And take Coach Will's message to heart. Like when we're done tonight, sit down and think about the type of person you are, how you show up when it matters. And as far as the discovering your purpose, I typed this in the chat. Remember, you are the answer to someone's prayer. Okay, when this opportunity showed up for me back in 2019, 2 weeks before I found out about this, I prayed. I asked God. I left my last company, and I thought I was just going to wrap up and just working in corporate America. 2 weeks before I found out about HBN, I prayed and asked God to the Most High to bring something to me that so that I could put myself in the position to where I can leave corporate America early. And 2 weeks to the day, this showed up. All right. And it showed up through someone. We're not friends anymore. We were like brothers, my sponsor, right? Of all things, just went sideways. But I'm grateful for him, knowing Paula from prior relationship and sharing this with me. And so he was the answer. He was the answer to my prayer. And fast forward now, 7 years later, I don't have a job. I can wake up at the crack of noon if I want to, put my daughter through college debt free, which was one of my plans, and then have helped thousands of people also, improve their health and also improve their finances. And so, if somebody like me grew up in the hood in Los Angeles, California area, stuttering, no special skills other than playing football, basketball, growing up. If a guy like me that still speaks with Ebonics sometime can literally replace my income part-time, why can't you? So just go back and discover what your purpose is. It's not going to be fun, right? Everything's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it. If it was easy, every single person on the planet would be successful, right? So walking your purpose, gotta ask, just if you don't know, ask, and sit down and truly think about who you are and how you show up. So that's all I have, guys. Hey, we have our training tomorrow night. So, but thank you, Seymour. Thank you, Miriam and Coach Will. Appreciate you for hopping on. We have a few hours left before the close of the month. So, for anyone who has people you want to enroll, go follow up with them. But tomorrow we have our franchise factor training. Part one is at 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. So, I guess I'll close the call, Miriam. I know you guys are busy, but appreciate you guys.
Okay.
And thank you guys for hopping on here and listening to, to get this training and this teaching. And we just want to see you guys win. So hopefully we see you guys tomorrow night. And Detox Divas Thursday. Okay, Thursday, Tiara Moore is the host with the Detox Divas. She's going to go over the new oils that came out, the MCT coconut oil, which by the way, if you guys haven't put that in your coffee, it's amazing.
It is.
It's amazing. Um, and then she's also going to talk about the jojoba oil, the grapeseed, the rosehip, and the pomegranate seed oil. So she's going to cover all those on Thursday night. Detox Divas, Coffee Talk with Tina.com, 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern on Thursday night. So we have a great slate of Zooms coming up, but we appreciate you guys hopping on here. This is being recorded, so we will get the recording process and posted on the One Team One Dream channel tonight. And grab the replay, listen to it, pause it, take some notes, but truly, sit down and like Coach Will said, think about how you show up. Who are you? All right. So that's it, guys. Thank you, guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow night, and have a good start to the month of April. The second quarter of 2026 is here tomorrow night. All right, tomorrow. So see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night. Bye.
Good night.